The armed forces stop an ambulance on its way to hospital. They tear down the Red Cross flag and detain the injured patient, a wounded protester. In another incident, 3 volunteers from a charity ambulance are arrested. An elderly woman is dragged away by her hair. A gunshot is heard, but we don't know what happens next. And yet more attacks like these on clinics continue to be recorded by human rights groups since the start of the coup in February this year.
We feel the crushing guilt of a helpless doctor that could do nothing but let his patient slip away to death.
If doctors treat their protest-related injury patients, they accuse us we are treating their enemies.
Some of our colleagues has been arrested, some shot with real bullets, and some are still in prison now.
3 doctors in hiding just because they are practicing medics. Since the beginning of the coup, we've been speaking with medical staff across Myanmar. They paint a picture of a profession under attack. Many are now wanted for arrest, and some have become too afraid to talk. Those who want to speak have asked us to hide their identities. Nightly on national TV, the presenter announces a list of warrants for arrest. Here, 20 medics are named.
There are 400 doctors and 180 nurses have been issued warrants for participating in the civil disobedience movement. They are trying to repress this non-violent movement by means of the issuing warrants and extreme violence involving forceful abductions of medical professionals, charging them with absurd charges like high treason. It means a whole of your family have to move away from the city you have to live in.
Medical staff have been among the leaders of the pro-democracy movement, involved in nationwide strikes whilst providing emergency treatment to those injured, often at personal risk. In this CCTV video, medics are seen being pulled from an ambulance and beaten by security forces. Faced with the violence of the military crackdown, medical staff have set up a network of hidden clinics across Myanmar.
I had been volunteering at a charity clinic at one of the protest area in Yangon. The clinic was raided and 3 volunteer doctors and a nurse were abducted. And all the medical equipment were confiscated. And my colleague is still in the prison for treating the injured and carrying out their humanitarian duty. And they were charged for possessing lethal weapon, for the very reason of having surgical scalpel in the clinic to perform emergency operation to the wounded protester.
Adapting to the danger of ambulances being targeted, medical workers now move patients by scooter.
One person is driving, and the patient is at the middle, and one person is at the back of the patient. So
this doctor runs 4 charity clinics in her city. Like many of these pop-up centres, they provide free healthcare and are manned by medical staff on strike.
We are doing good things for the patients, and the patients have no place to go for their treatment.
In this video, a resident films the raid of a neighbourhood clinic. We understand that medical equipment was confiscated by the military, a common tactic of the security forces.
When military arrived, they entered the hospital and they find out some data about the patients, such as gunshot wounds, how many patients we have treated, and how many dead body we have kept, and they wait and see in front of the hospital for 1 day. There are lots of cars, military cars with the soldiers.
Since the start of the coup in February, there have been over 200 attacks on medical staff and facilities. 14 doctors have been killed. Over 150 doctors have been arrested and 49 hospitals occupied.
The hospitals, clinics are supposed to be a sanctuary for the sick, And those places should be solely focusing on the recuperating of the patients. But the military is making them into the places where the patients have been living under constant fear of not knowing when they will be abducted or targeted or shoot for no absolute reason.
In spring, this young doctor faced the daily barrage of shooting on the front line in Yangon. He took the risk of working alongside the protesters. He runs for cover and is taken to a man who's been shot. Whilst treating the gunshot wound in the ear, he has to run for further cover.
The volunteers brought the patient to me, and I started cleaning the wound and also start suturing. At that time, the soldiers came into our street, and then they start shooting. That's why I also have to run away from the area of the clinic, also together with my patients, and then we had to run very far from the area to very far area, and then we had to continue suturing and treating the patient.
He and many other doctors we've spoken to have now decided to leave the cities and move to remote areas of Myanmar previously unknown to them. There, they find safety from arrest warrants and are able to provide healthcare to locals in need, some of whom have been displaced through ongoing military airstrikes on rebellious towns. With rudimentary tools, they are saving lives under arduous conditions, even operating by flashlight. Many are also leading training sessions for local people. They practice surgery on tomatoes.
For me, mostly they injury patients like the cancer one, and also the normal patient coming from the IDP camps. The general community, the general people who are coming from their villages, their villages are already destroyed by the airstrike, and they are attacked for the military. That's why the people have to run away to the safe area. They are gathered around the villages.
More than 800 protesters and people has been killed by the military, including one of my medical students, and then 3 doctors who graduated from my university. They were killed.
Professor Zawei So is the Health Minister of the National Unity Government, a body representing the ousted administration and ethnic organizations. How has the military obstructed the COVID response?
In first week of COVID-19, Myanmar was a few countries who can control the first week. We are in the least affected 5 countries in the world. That is the one thing that I very much angry, and then also feel very sad for the country, and also angry to the military because of the coup. Otherwise, we don't need to worry about 3rd wave of COVID.
4 months into the coup, the military's violence hasn't abated, but daily the doctors continue to save lives, even if their own are put at risk. Healthcare in Myanmar is becoming ever more fragile.